3, 2, 1.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Vol Talk. My name is Blake. This is my brother Austin.
Yes, sir.
And this is Vol Talk. So we kicked off Vol Talk last week. This is just a podcast about talking about the Vols, right? So we're two brothers. We love chatting back and forth about the Vols. And so with Vol Talk, what you're going to get is you're going to get a little bit of analysis. Not very good analysis, but a little bit of analysis, fan analysis. But then you're going to get a whole lot of chatter, a whole lot of fan talk about the Vols, and hopefully some fun moments, some goofy moments throughout. So this is our week 1 game review podcast that we're doing today. So we're going to be talking about the game this past Saturday against UT Chattanooga. UT had UT Chattanooga at home for the season opener, and we got lucky enough. So at my work, the CEO of the company that I work at happened to not want to go to the game with his season tickets, and he asked if anyone wanted them. I scooped them up. So Austin and I were lucky enough to go to the game actually on Saturday. So let's talk about the environment first and foremost, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we almost got trampled coming into the game. You're a little impatient. You don't like lines. So we were walking the opposite way of traffic. And I was worried I was about to get trampled by, well, it looked like 1 million people. I mean, it looked like 1 million people outside Neal.
It sure looked like more than 100,000, I'll tell you that.
It had to be. I mean, I've never seen 1 million people in person. But if I had, it was Saturday. It literally looked like 1 million plus people, dude. It was insane. But we finally got in the stadium, and, dude, we got in the stadium after getting trampled by people outside, and there was no seats available. I was like, well, where are the people outside sitting?
Where are these people going?
Yeah, where are those people sitting at?
They got to
no seats available.
They got to go somewhere.
Yeah, they got to go somewhere. They ain't working concessions.
I mean, you know,
it was crazy.
The way those concession lines were moving, there weren't that many people working concessions.
No, dude, it was nuts. The environment was crazy. Totally sold out. Listen, it's the first game of the season, Nico's debut, so it was a big moment. But I've never been to Neyland in a game like that where it's totally sold out. I mean, totally sold out.
Right. I mean, because unfortunately, us poor boys, we ain't got in those big Florida or Alabama games yet, right? We're hoping to soon. But we've only ever been to, kind of just probably the biggest games we've been to in Neyland are either your South Carolinas or your Kentuckys.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Missouri I've been to a few times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was just nuts, dude, to see us playing the FCS school and literally completely sold out.
It was sold out. And again, like you said, it's the season opener.
Yeah.
And so, but man, so I get it.
There's a lot of hype for this year, dude.
But man, there was a lot of hype because it was just Chattanooga, but there was so much hype, man.
Yeah.
And that environment was electric.
Oh, it was electric.
The running through the tee. And then they did the flyover.
It's the best, dude.
After the band's on the field, the band, does the whole 9. And then they had the flyover, and it was just like it was. And boom, college football is back, baby. College football, dude. Saturday. It was just electric, man.
Yeah, man. And it was like 100+ degrees.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, almost died by the second quarter. But yeah, overall it was good, dude. Biggest thing was Nico's debut, man. His debut, obviously not debut starting, but debut in Neyland, his first start in Neyland, and I don't see how it could have went any better. I mean, it was literally, to me, I mean, we were talking like midway through the first, maybe even up until the second. He hadn't thrown it incomplete.
He hadn't thrown it incomplete. He was rocking 100% completion rate.
Literally 100% completion rate, dude. And man, he looks talented, dude. It's hard not to get excited. It's also hard to evaluate because it's Chattanooga.
Sure, it's Chattanooga.
But
you made a good point to me in the middle of the game, right? And so we're going to hop right into it. That's the biggest headline of the game, right? Is Nico's first regular season start. Like you said, for all intents and purposes, his first debut.
It was his debut.
He played in the bowl game, right? But this was his debut. And again, it's Chattanooga, right? We get that.
Yeah.
But you made a great point to me in the game, was like, it's tough to get this kind of accuracy against air.
Exactly, dude. To have that kind of rhythm and that kind of accuracy with the receivers against air is even impressive. And he was doing it with the defense. And, dude, the one throw that I want to point out with Nico was it was his best throw of the day. Now, I am kind of slightly concerned that throws a pick against better competition. But, dude, he placed it perfectly over, like, 2 linebackers were right here. The receiver was right there, and then safety was over top. He literally, with perfect touch between the linebacker and the safety.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's hard not to get excited about that, dude, especially since what we saw last year.
Yes.
So that throw in particular was just elite. That was an elite throw. And plus, dude, this is another thing I'll talk to you about was the quick decisions, man.
Yeah.
Just firing it, dude. Just firing it in there. First read, boom. Or first, second read, boom. Throws it. And that's just something that we were missing last year, dude.
Yeah, making that quick decision because Joe Milton, again, love Joe. He had great, arm strength, all this, that, and the other. But, man, it was just, it felt like he was in the pocket. He felt like he held onto the ball forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Exactly.
And Nico was making those quick decisions. Even with his pocket presence, let's talk a little bit about, so you've talked about his accuracy, you've talked about his quick decisions, but then I loved that, that you talked about that kind of sixth sense that he had,
yes.
But, knowing right when he, immediately when the pocket's in danger, he rolled out and was still able to hit dimes.
Yep. Dude, I think... Listen, pocket presence for a quarterback is probably the most important trait because it's the one trait that can't be coached.
Yeah.
You literally cannot coach pocket presence. Like you said, it's the sixth sense. And like you can improve accuracy, you can even improve arm strength, but you cannot improve that sixth sense pocket presence. And I felt that immediately right when I watched Nico last year, even against Iowa.
Yeah.
I felt like he had elite pocket presence, dude. There's times where he's in the pocket where he'll bail from the pocket because he feels that guy coming.
Right.
But then there's times where he sits in there and he'll wait because he just has a feel for it, dude.
Yeah.
And you literally cannot coach that. And it's what the greats have, dude. But then you add that mobility on top of it because he's able to roll out and improvise and he's always looking downfield, dude.
Yeah.
Always looking downfield. So it's exciting, man.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
It is exciting, and it was exactly what we were looking for, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we talked about it. If you caught the first episode last week, right? We previewed Chattanooga very briefly, right? And again, I get it, Chattanooga, right? But we talked about how we needed to come out and dominate, and because in the past, the recent past. We would come out against these kind of opponents and be flat, Totally flat, no octane to the offense.
Yeah.
But instead, Nico comes out and what do? We do exactly what we needed to do, and in fact, he sets a school record.
Yep.
For most passing yards in a half.
Yep. Beats Tyler Bray's record, most passing yards in a half. And when you're doing that your first start, dude, it's like. It's so tough, like, because again, you want to be like reasonable and be like, okay, the competition, whatever, but man, it's hard not to get like real excited, man.
Yeah,
real excited because, and again, we previewed this on the preview show, but I was talking about how the strength of the offense was the run game last year, but that held the offense back at times.
Yeah,
and now when you get an elite quarterback in Heupel's offense, because. And I do not want this to sound disrespectful to Hendon, but I'm not sure he was the elite of the elite QBs in college football.
Right.
I don't think that's. I think that's the case. I mean, if he was, he would have been drafted in the first round. He's a UT legend and one of the best quarterbacks since Peyton. But Nico has the potential to go to the next level, dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's scary.
It's
thought.
special.
Considering how we looked in 22, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that we can take a step past that is nuts, man.
Because that 2022 team was great.
Oh,
and like you said, it's absolutely no disrespect to Hendon Hooker because he is an absolute legend, and he is most certainly the best UTQB since Casey Clausen. Okay, so
jeez.
So
here we go with Casey
Clausen. You teed me up, bro. You teed me up. So go ahead and lock it in. Probably going to be a Casey Clausen mention every
episode,
every pod until. But I hope Nico enters that elite company that Casey Clausen is in of beating Florida and Alabama in in one season.
Could happen
both
this
in one
year.
season. It could. We're not going to jump ahead of ourselves, but But yeah, man, it's tough not to get excited about him because it's just. And you mentioned the run game, so let's talk about that real quick. What is so awesome about Heupel's offense is we talk about like this air raid offense, we talk about this hurry up offense, but the balance in the offense and like you said, the balance maybe wasn't there last year because we had to rely too much on the run game. And people talk about Tennessee was a run offense, it's like you said, it's because we had to be, but we saw in this game kind of that return to 2022 where it's like, okay, we've got that dual threat, right, in terms of, the pass game, but the run game looked excellent. Dylan Sampson looked great as always.
Exactly, dude. And the offensive line played good. I mean, I expect them to dominate in a game like this, especially them. But Dylan Sampson was interesting because, I mean, we talked about it in the game, dude. It looks like every time he touches the ball, he's going to make at least one defender miss.
Oh, absolutely.
One defender. And I don't care if you're playing Chattanooga or if you're playing Alabama. It's hard to make dudes miss in the open field. Yeah. I mean, these are college football players. It's hard to make dudes miss that consistently in the open field. And you also talked about this, and maybe you want to talk about it a little bit, is how patient he is, dude.
Yes.
He just waits for it to open up, and he doesn't, he's explosive, but he also is not just waiting or not just hitting the hole and just running straight. He's being patient, and then he hits the hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, he looked special. Offensive line opened it up for him, and I expect him to have a good year, especially because the thing is, dude, when the pass game gets better, the run game's going to open up, man.
Absolutely.
That's why those wide splits is to open up the run game, and so I expect us to have another elite season running the ball, but then you add that quarterback element, and it's just going to change the offense, man. It's going to completely change the offense this season. So,
yeah, because Heupel's offense, at least in 2022, we saw a lot of RPOs, a lot of run pass options, right? And I just, I think, and we're not going to dwell too much on last season, but again, because of some of Joe Milton's inconsistency, at least to me, and this is a fan talking about analytics. Okay, I don't, I'm not an expert, right? You're not coming to this podcast for an expert analysis. You're coming to this podcast to talk about, just to have a chill talk about the Vols, right?
Correct.
But the run pass options, when the passing game's not there, those become less of a threat, right? Because your offense starts to become more one dimensional. And so I foresee this season, especially if Nico is as smart as he seems, right, and he's able to really understand, he's had a year under Heupel's offense now, right, to learn this system, and if he can run this offense really efficiently, I think those RPOs are really going to, open up a lot of options.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, dude, that's a good point you just made about how he sat for a year. That was so good for his development, man. Sitting him for a year, letting him to learn. Because, I mean, I got to touch on Dante Thornton. Because I think Dante Thornton's a great example of how it takes at least a year in this offense to get going. Because he was a disappointment last year. He was an absolute disappointment. He just didn't look comfortable in the offense. And, dude, yesterday, and yeah, I mean, again, it's game one, Chattanooga, whatever, but he looked great, man. Yeah. He was getting open. He was catching the ball. Dude, the biggest thing was he looked in rhythm with Nico, dude.
Yes.
So, and you had Dante Thornton to Chris Brazel, Dazzle.
Brazel.
Dazzle. Yes. Brazel. Anyways,
we're trying to learn his name. We're trying
it's not that hard. I'm just complicating it. But, you had Chris Brazel, Dante Thornton's going to play well, and then Brew was making play after play.
He was, yeah.
He looks like he's not going to lose anything from that injury, which is great, man. It was great to see him playing again. So that's a solid wide receiver core, man. Very solid. So that's exciting. There's more depth there than ever. So, man, the offense overall, great. Yeah. Great. It looks like it's going to get back to that elite level in 2022, in my opinion.
I mean, it absolutely looked that way. I mean, if those of you who were able to watch the game, or, especially if you were able to be there for the game, I mean, just electric. And it's interesting. I don't know if you feel this way, but seeing that offense in person, you don't realize how fast it is until you see it in person.
I know, dude. I noticed that yesterday, bro. dude, especially in that heat, it was impressive to see especially the big boys getting down the field, snapping the ball within because dude, they would go even faster if the ref didn't have to go down there and touch the ball. I mean, those dudes are moving, and they have to be in insane shape, and they look like they're up for the task yesterday, dude. And that's another thing with the depth, man. It helps when you have that depth because you can keep running that kind of offense. When you roll 8 deep in the offensive line, you can give your dudes a break every once in a while. So, yeah, that was impressive, dude.
Yeah, keep that octane going. And, and that, I hope, pays dividends, down the road, just in general for the team, that kind of that conditioning that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because, man, do you remember under Butch Jones how just the conditioning just wasn't there?
Yeah.
We would get to the third and fourth quarter and
be gassed.
And we would lose games because, we couldn't. And so I definitely think Heupel, has got a different different mentality for this team, I think, but yeah, man, the offense, super fast in person, it's crazy, how quick it's just like boom, boom, boom.
I was impressed, bro, because I was about to pass out in the stands.
I know, we're just sitting there, bro. We talked last week about hot and ready secondary, which we're going to get to defense in a second, but man, talk about hot, that was hot.
Oh, dude, it was hot.
Check my phone, it was like, it was like 91 or 92, but it felt like 97, 98 or whatever, and that's just downtown Knoxville, right? Like,
exactly.
Who knows how much hotter
in the stadium
in that bowl, you know? There were people, when we were leaving or when I was going to get concessions, there was people in the causeway, like in the shade, like, that looking like they're about to die,
dude, exactly.
We saw a couple people who came in. And they were gone after like 5 minutes. Like there was this one couple that left like after 5 minutes into the game, like we can't handle this. And then another couple came in late, stayed for 5 minutes, and then left.
They left. They were like, I'm done.
Anyway, so I'm not gonna get on that, but it was hot. It was hot.
It was.
But you're right. I mean, in that heat, and those guys are able to still keep up with that tempo.
Exactly,
was awesome. But speaking of speed, I want to real quick circle back to Dante Thornton.
Yeah.
His speed. We saw a lot of great plays out of him. I think we saw a couple deep plays with Thornton.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk about the receivers in general. We talked a little bit about it last week in the preview. Did you see what you felt like you needed to see in this first game again for the receivers?
I did, man. They felt, again, I thought their connection with Nico, it looked like they were all connected with Nico.
Yeah.
They were all on the same page. I mean, the only guy we didn't see a lot from was Squirrel. He wasn't targeted a lot. Now, we're not looking at every receiver on the field. You're paying attention to where the ball is. So I don't really know how he played in the game. But, I mean, it seemed like they were all on the same page with Nico, especially those top three guys. Chris, Brew, and Dante, they were all on the same page with Nico. And I think that will probably be the main three guys in the offense if I had to guess. But yeah, dude, I think it's going to be an improved group from last year, dude. A big-time improved group. Again, you have Dante with second year in the system. You have Chris coming in from Tulane. He's going to be great. He made a few plays. And then, Brew coming back from injury. I mean, last year it was basically Dante Thornton, and we already talked about how he was a kind of a letdown, and Squirrel White for most of the year. And from that perspective, it's like, you kind of got to give the quarterback a little bit of a break just because that's not what we expected last year. I mean, we expected, a healthy Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, and Dante Thornton to make more plays. So I definitely thought projecting out, I think the receiving core is in a lot better place than last year. And including tight ends as well. I mean, I think...
Oh, yeah. Ethan Davis got a touchdown, didn't he?
Yep, Ethan Davis made a play. And we're deep at that position. So I think overall the pass catchers are going to be much improved.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, because, again, your quarter when you have a potentially generational talent at quarterback like we have in Nico, you need guys that you can cycle through and not just one guy that's going to get shut down, right? You got to have a lot of guys. And so, yeah, we've got a deep receiving core. They looked great. There might have been one or two drops, but one thing that I noticed, compared to last year with Joe Milton was, there were so many drops. And you had to wonder, it's like, are the receivers dropping the ball? or is Joe Milton putting way too much
much
sauce
heat
on it?
Yeah.
He's got so much sauce on it. And Nico had some great arm strength, but he had that touch. It looked like he had that touch.
Exactly, dude.
You know?
Yeah, that's a really good point because, like, you can tell the Nico's arm strength's there, dude. Like, that deep ball to Dante Thornton. I mean, first of all, it's hard not to talk about that. That actually was nuts, dude. Like,
oh man,
I remember.
I'm talking about that one deep throw that just hit him literally perfect,
right in the hands, dude. I stood up and I was like, dude, he got him. He got him before they even caught it, and I knew it, dude. And Nico just hit it right on the money. But like you said, his arm strength's great, but unlike Joe Milton, he knows how to put touch on the ball. Yeah. So man, I just can't wait till next week, dude. Can't wait to see what he does the rest of the year because I mean. When you got an elite signal caller, dude, it changes the game, bro. It changes the game. I mean, I hate to buy into the media hype. It does feel like rat poison, but dude, so many people are anointing Nico the man, dude. Just saying he's
the guy.
He's
that guy.
Like the best quarterback in the SEC, like Heisman Trophy, future Heisman Trophy.
Well, I was just about to ask you about that. What do you think? You think he's going to be the guy that finally brings the Heisman home to Tennessee?
Dude, it's so tough. I can't say. Listen, I think we're going to lose a lot this offseason, so I feel like if he's going to do it, it could be this season.
It has to be this season.
And, dude, we've seen it before, man. I mean, Jameis Winston came into Florida State as a true freshman and won the Heisman. I mean,
so the door's wide open.
The door's wide open for QBs, man. Yeah. QBs can come out and light the world on fire as a freshman. It's happened so many times, and I don't know, man. I'm not saying it's going to happen this season, but it's exciting.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
Because unfortunately, those of you out there who are keeping track, unfortunately, Tennessee has never had a Heisman in history, which is an absolute travesty of a. I got to get on the history real quick.
Oh yeah, okay. Dude. We'll hit us with it.
I mean, you're talking about Johnny Majors. So Johnny Majors should have won the Heisman at Tennessee, but essentially, long story short, they gave it to some chump from Notre Dame because that was back in the 50s when Notre Dame was still the darling of the media, and I don't want us to get on a tangent about the Heisman Trophy and how it's kind of tainted by like these media dudes who don't freaking know.
Yeah,
they don't. A lot of them who are voting on this Heisman don't know. We're not gonna get on that tangent, but point is they gave it to some dude on a Notre Dame team that. I want to say they won 2 games that season. It was just...
you're right. It was Paul Hornung.
Yeah. Old Paul.
And they did win 2 games. I remember looking into that. Dude, back in the day, they were super biased to Notre Dame.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, there was a year that they won... They got... they claimed a national championship a season where a poll ranked them number 1 and they had 4 losses. And that's the truth. You can look that up. That happened. They were literally like 8-4, 7-4. A poll ranked them number 1.
And so
they claimed that national championship.
Anyway, so there's the Johnny, and then of course there's the Peyton snub, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to the Heisman, and no disrespect to the great Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about numbers, Eric Berry had better numbers than Charles Woodson did.
That's just a fact.
It's just a fact. The year that Charles Woodson won the Heisman, Eric Berry had better numbers, comparable offensive numbers. I remember comparable offensive numbers and significantly better defensive numbers. And Berry finished 3rd or 4th that year. And anyway, I'm not talking about Berry. I'm talking about the fact that Charles Woodson beat Peyton Manning.
Well, let me know. I mean, do you think Nico can win the Heisman?
Here's the deal. I think Tennessee's long overdue. That's the point I'm getting to. Right? Is we've had these snubs throughout Tennessee's history.
Think about Hendon.
Hendon.
You didn't talk about Hendon.
And thank you because freaking Hendon Hooker. If we want to talk, now you're about to get me on a soapbox. Okay,
dude.
Here,
Take it away.
Let me place this soapbox right here.
Here's your solo shot.
You're talking about Hendon Hooker, who was the favorite to win the Heisman going into the South Carolina game, right? And you've got Hendon Hooker, who's leading this Tennessee team to an unprecedented season in the past, 20 years for Tennessee, right? And he's got the best numbers in the country, this, that, and the other. And then he gets injured Okay, he gets
late
injured
in the South Carolina game.
Late in the South Carolina game, doesn't get to play the last game of the season. Still ends up with better numbers than Stetson Bennett, and Hendon Hooker doesn't get an invite to New York.
Now that I think about that, that's insane. Was he actually the favorite going into the Carolina game?
So by that point in the season, now it had been going back and forth right for a long time. But by the time we got to the South Carolina game, Hendon Hooker was for a lot of outlets the favorite.
That is nuts.
It was.
So
him
they're basically
and,
saying him missing the Vanderbilt game completely takes him out of the race.
Oh, 100%. That's absolutely what they did. Or specifically them saying, or they're saying that him getting injured takes him out of the race.
Which
because
is nuts. He missed one game.
I know. It was him and, what's his name, from Ohio State?
Was it Stroud?
Yes. So it was like by that point in the season, it had become, okay, is it going to be Stroud or is it going to be Hendon Hooker?
Yeah.
And Hendon Hooker had started to set himself apart from Stroud by that point in the season. And then he gets injured, again, like you said, late in the South Carolina game, misses one game in the season. And here's the deal. The fact that he doesn't even get an invite to New York, that Stetson Bennett got an invite to New York.
Which was pathetic, dude.
Over Hendon Hooker. Absolute travesty.
It was pathetic.
And what a throwaway year for the Heisman. Oh, what's his name? Caleb Williams ended up winning.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. No disrespect to Caleb Williams, okay? He had a good year, but give me a break.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a down year for the Heisman. Honestly, that might have been the year to finally open up the Heisman and maybe start giving it to someone other than the quarterback or a running back, like maybe throw it to a receiver or another defensive player,
Well, especially when you consider the context of what Hendon and Heupel were dealing with at Tennessee, dude. I mean, the reduction in scholarships and everything, all the transfers out, and literally turn around that program in 2 seasons, and what Hendon did. And like
he had the team on his back.
He missed one game.
He had one game, and he had the team on his back the entire season.
That's nuts, man.
And doesn't get an invite to New York.
So will Nico get screwed? Maybe.
That's
Maybe.
So that's the point, is that Tennessee is long overdue.
Yeah.
And there's something, I think, honestly, when it comes to, and listen, bro, people like to think that we have these infallible I'm still on my soapbox, okay? I'm about to get off. All right. People think that we have these infallible institutions, right? Like that, the government can never get it wrong, or the Heisman voters could never get it wrong, right? Heisman voters are human beings.
Yes.
They're in the media, okay? And guess what? The media does not have a good relationship with Tennessee. Why? Because Tennessee fans in particular have shown themselves to be able to influence the university even more than the media can. The media was all about Greg Schiano, right? And what do Tennessee fans do is they come in, they revolt, legitimately revolt, nix the hire. As a fan base, that's unheard of. That is literally unheard of.
Yeah, got the AD, ran out of town.
Yeah, all these different things. The fan base did that, right? Not the media. And a lot of people in the media don't like that. A lot of people in the media do not like the fact that Tennessee fans are so passionate and care so much about this program and have so much power as well. They hate that. Because people, and here's the deal. Human beings are like that, right? We like power. I'm about to get off my soapbox, okay? But my point is that, so people are like, if Tennessee had someone who was worth, sending, to New York or winning the Heisman, they would have won it. And it's like, no, actually, at the end of the day, these are votes from human beings, and they can get it wrong. And the fact of the matter is Tennessee has, unfortunately, a history with the media where a lot of people in the media don't like Tennessee. So,
that's a fact.
Could Nico get screwed? He could. But to answer your question, soapbox gone. I think Nico could win the Heisman. He's got that ability, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's got that talent. So,
well, we already said how his upside's higher than Hendon's, and Hendon should have been in the Heisman race.
Absolutely.
Should have been in New York. That is just a fact. It's not debatable. It's not our bias. He had better numbers than Stetson, and considering the talent Stetson was playing with, it's no question.
Exactly.
And Nico can be better. It's like, why can't he?
Exactly.
Why can't he be in the Heisman race? Why can't he?
And so I think, if my prediction is that if you see us go on the upside of so we talked about last week in our kind of scenarios for the season, You talked about how you think realistically 10-2 should be the top. Like
that's my prediction. That was my prediction.
That's your season prediction.
Yes.
I think if you see us go 10-2 with a close loss to Oklahoma and even maybe a close loss to Georgia, and you see Nico carry this team the way that Hendon did, and you see Nico put up even better numbers maybe than Hendon and doesn't get injured, right? So, in other words, put it this way, Nico, you can't give the media an excuse, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Hendon made the mistake of giving his all for Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly.
And getting injured,
Yeah.
and so that gave the media an excuse.
And what if he went out? Yeah, I know we got to get off the topic, but what if he went out and threw like 2 touchdowns and 150 yards against Vanderbilt? Does he get the invite then? Like, did he just have to start the Vanderbilt game? Like, did he just hand the ball off all game? Does he get an invite then?
Right.
It's just that's ridiculous.
It literally made no sense.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm, and this maybe is my bias showing, but in a lot of ways, I felt like Hendon even deserved it still over Caleb Williams. Even missing a game. But I'm not
at the very least should have been an
at the very least needed an invite. So yeah, the point is Nico, you can't give the media an excuse. And I think if he doesn't, I think if we go 10-2, and I think if we maybe have a couple close losses, he puts up those big numbers. I think he's gonna at least. Actually, let me go ahead and book it. Book it right now. He's going to be in New York.
He's going to be in New York
this season. He's going to be in New York. You know what? I'm feeling froggy. Maybe I'm hyped up from freaking
seeing him in person.
Seeing him in person. I got my blood boiling. Thinking about Hendon's disrespect. Right? You know what? So book it right here, right now on the Vol Talk podcast. Nico's going to be in New York.
I can't disagree with that, man. I cannot disagree with that. The ceiling is there, 100%.
It's there, so
100%.
Anyway, offense looking great.
Offense looked great.
Defense. So let's talk about the defense.
Defense looked good, man. I was especially impressed with Keenan Peely, dude.
Okay. Talk to me about that. What
he played amazingly. He was all over the field. I kept hearing his name over the intercom. And I looked into his PFF grades. I got the insider info.
Okay.
Got that little PFF subscription. And great run defense grade and great pass defense grade.
Okay.
Which is like, dude, if you can do it all, and the guy in the middle of the defense, we really haven't had that. And, dude, but we have a history, as you know, at Tennessee of having great dudes in the middle of the defense. Playing middle linebacker, so I think he could carry on that tradition, dude. I mean, again, it's a low level competition. There's a long season ahead, but I mean, he had a lot of hype last year before he got hurt, and it definitely seems like an improvement of what we've had recently. So him especially, I was super impressed with. Outside of that, I don't have too many notes on the defense. James Pierce didn't play a lot.
Yeah,
he didn't
really
play a lot. Yeah. So he didn't make a huge impact.
I think you said he had 10 snaps or something
10 snaps in the entire game, only like 4 pass rush snaps. So he didn't make a huge impact. But overall, dude, the defense was flying around, man, and doing what they needed to do against Chattanooga.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's again, what we said it last week, right? Like, come into Chattanooga and just do what you're supposed to do. Don't let there be any of this, like, you even look at, like, Ohio State came out kind of flat against Akron, when you come out against these teams, it's these teams get booked for a reason. They get paid millions of dollars to come to Neyland Stadium to get their butts whooped.
We're trying to support small programs by paying programs like Chattanooga, and they're here to get an ass whipping.
And so you go out and you do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of, in frickin' Jeremy Pruitt era, and you go out against Georgia Southern and you let Georgia Southern get their first win ever.
I can't remember if this is under the Pruitt era or the Butch era. It was basically the same outcome on those two coaches, but I was in Neyland one of those games where it was, man, who did we play? It might have been UAB. It was a small school that we should have beat down.
Yeah. And
I went with Callie. And, dude, I mean, we were sweating it out in the fourth quarter, bro. It was 14-7, and just, like, sweating out if we'd win this game that we were, like, 30-point favorites in. And I'm just happy those days are gone, bro.
Exactly.
I'm just happy those days are gone where we don't have to sweat games like that. Like, we shouldn't be sweating games against Chattanooga. We shouldn't be sweating those kind of games. We should enjoy our time in the stadium and leave at halftime knowing we won the game. That's what should happen.
Literally put it away at halftime, 45-0. I mean, I love that. Like, I love, because I was thinking, I think I said to you, I was like, I think we're going to be up 35-0 at half. we ended up 45-0.
Yeah.
You know,
and it could have been more.
Could have been 52-0.
Yeah, I mean, if there was only any complaints, a little sloppy by the offense at the end of the half, but especially with penalties, man. I guess I should have probably touched on that earlier, but they gotta clean up the penalties, man.
Yeah, so let's
clean it up.
Let's talk about that real quick. And what it did, so that if there were any question marks, any things that were kind of a little worrisome, it was the offense looked a little sloppy on that 2-minute drill before the half, and man, what's with these false starts?
Yes, and holding.
And holding. I mean, just false start and holding. It was primarily holding, I guess, at the game, wasn't it?
It killed so many. No, I think they had a false start as well, but it killed so many drives last year. So many drives last year is holding. Yeah. And, and I think, again, we're more talented this year, but I mean, holding literally kills your job, dude. If you hold, it's job over, pretty much. And you just can't do it. You cannot do it. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. And for the most part, they played really clean.
Yeah.
Like, Heupel's offense has always played clean in terms of turnovers.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Turnover-wise, they never turn the ball over, which is fantastic. But those holding penalties might as well be punting the ball away. Yeah. So hopefully they clean that up. And then defensively, missed tackles. A couple missed tackles here and there.
Yeah.
Which is like...
That secondary, man. That we talked about that secondary last week. This hot and ready secondary, right? It's a freaking Little Caesars. Are they good? They're hot and they're ready. We didn't say they were good. Right?
Yeah.
There was a couple missed tackles, couple broken coverages.
Yeah, they didn't pass. Chattanooga wasn't trying to pass a lot.
Yeah.
And they were. I mean, there was like that one that I think they played a little soft coverage. So, and you said like, oh, if the quarterback threw it deep, he could have hit him in stride. But I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to evaluate it. It is. But all we need them to do is be average. Just be average.
Yeah.
Again, just be that hot and ready. You don't have to be great. Just be serviceable, and it'll work out. So, got to clean up the missed tackles. And again, the secondary is going to be a question. We haven't answered that question.
Yeah, that's still a question.
That's still a question mark. Our front seven is going to be great. We have a lot of depth up front in the defensive line. And again, Keenan Pilley played great. It looks like our linebackers are going to be good to great this year. Still going to be a question mark in the back end and see what they can do. So, but overall, dude, thought the team played great.
Yeah. The defense, forced a turnover. So the defense, again, we're nitpicking, right?
Yeah.
Like, trying to look for some things because, again, it was being that it was Chattanooga. Yeah. It's like, hey, you don't necessarily have to play a perfect game, but you at least want to see, you don't want to see sloppiness, and so the penalties were a little concerning. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping with Nico's mobility and also his fast decision-making, so I think that's going to be what's key, is a lot of times last year you saw Joe Milton, we talked about this, Joe Milton just holds onto the ball, not making a decision, right? Yeah. And that gives time for your offensive line to hold,
That's why football's the ultimate team game, because you're talking about the quarterback holding the ball. Well, one of the reasons the quarterback holds the ball, the receivers aren't open. So if the receivers get open quicker, Nico's making quicker decisions, then the offensive line won't hold because they only have to block for 2 to 3 seconds, which is really the max they should have to be blocking for. Yeah. So that was a good point. But, I mean... Yeah, as long as it's not consistently killing drives in SEC play, and that's all. It's concerning though when they hold or have pre-snap. Sorry, my bad. Have pre-snap penalties at home, because that's going to get even worse on the road. So
yeah,
so we'll see, man. It's just something we have to keep an eye out for, and hopefully they clean up. But I mean, outside of the little nitpicking, man, I thought that they couldn't have played any better.
Yeah, great, really. Great game. 69-3, right? Yeah. So I think if I remember correctly, you predicted 53-3 or
no,
6?
No. I predicted 52-6.
52-6,
and you said 53-6.
53-6.
Yeah, which is a weird score. I feel like you're just trying to one up me by 1 point there. But yeah, I mean, they didn't give up a touchdown, so yeah, we'll take that.
Well, yeah, that was nice. I wish I hadn't given up a field goal. That would have been nice.
Yeah, but at that point it was backups.
Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, I mean, exactly what you wanted to see. You drop 70 on an FCS opponent. and then you only give up 3 points, a field goal to your backup squad. So yeah.
Did you see the block punt touchdown by the rookie Justin Ross? Or not? Is it Justin Ross? Yeah. Anyway.
Did that happen in the second half?
Yes, it happened.
Oh,
it happened at the very end of the game, dude. There was like
we were gone by that
yeah,
point.
Yeah, we left the halftime.
It was too hot.
Yeah, we left the halftime.
Full disclosure, yeah.
Yeah, we did, man. It was too hot. It was 45 zip, and I was like, dang, dude.
We saw what we needed to see.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, dude, we had a block punt touchdown by a freshman 5-star defensive end.
That's great.
Yeah, so he blocked it and he returned
it.
Yes,
oh,
dude,
that's great.
Nice.
What's his name?
I can't remember, bro. It's Raw. I can't remember his first name. I think
it was a 5-star.
Yes, I cannot remember.
I'm gonna have to look.
His last name is Ross for sure, and I'm embarrassed. I can't
Ross.
remember
No disrespect.
I cannot remember.
But hey, that's how you become a household name is you make plays.
Yep.
And so that's great.
Had to shout him out because he's a good prospect on the team and playing special teams at a high level, dude. You gotta love that from a highly recruited player, dude. Because a lot of those dudes, I mean, they're entitled. They get there. They want to play on defense or offense, but he's actually making plays on special teams. I actually 100%. Love to see that. So
I love to see it too. I know you don't talk about.
special teams. I don't talk about special teams.
You don't talk about special teams.
But even though I just did.
You just did, but you don't talk about special teams. But I mean, yeah, that's where the breaks are made, right? General Nealon said, press the kicking game.
Yeah.
That doesn't just mean field goals. That means press that special teams game because you can make big breaks there, and he made a big break, so that's great. Living out the game maxims, like you said, putting in the effort, even outside of that. So that's and honestly, that's another thing that we needed to see in this Chattanooga game when you're playing an opponent like Chattanooga is, hey, let's get some reps for those young guys. Some game reps for those young guys. Because you talked about that. You're like, hey, let's get some reps for those second and third stringers, because they need them.
Yep, exactly.
Well, y'all, it was a great game. Again, we got lucky. We were able to experience the game in person against UT Chattanooga. Our Volunteers beat up on UT Chattanooga 69-3. So it was good, despite it being blazing hot. I mean, now, I tell you what, we talked about the secondary being hot and ready. If they're that hot, then that'll be good. That'll be good if they're that hot.
Yeah.
It was hot.
For sure.
But despite it being hot, it was a great game. We enjoyed the electric experience, right? So
nothing like Nealon, man.
Nothing like Nealon. So I know we don't have a ton of podcast listeners yet, especially if you've gotten to this point, right?
You're a loyal listener. You got to this point.
It might just be me and Austin that listen to this point.
Yes, sir.
But
hopefully, because I got that guy's name wrong.
Oh gosh, yeah. But exactly. Hopefully,
don't watch past the midway point.
we didn't get the names right. But listen, Vol Nation, let's keep up the intensity this season. Let's keep up that excitement. I'm excited, man.
NC State up next, baby.
Hey, NC State's up next.
About to preview that.
We're about to preview that. We're going to drop that later this week, so y'all be looking out for that. But hey, who knows? Maybe we're going to come back in 10, 12 weeks, look back on this podcast. The podcast is going to have blown up because your Tennessee Vols are going to the playoffs, right? Nico's winning Heisman. We'll see y'all. But like Austin said, we're going to be previewing NC State next, so be on the lookout for that podcast to drop in a couple days. We appreciate y'all joining us. Thanks. See y'all.
Later.
All
right. Time to look up this dude's name, bro. I know.